Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 14th annual running of the Winstel 400. Tonight, we bring you the Pull Award presented by Cruz DFS. This is the night where the front row get to lock themselves into the Winstel 400 next Sunday at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. This is always an exciting event because sometimes you get to see some new faces that you don't always normally get to see. So it'll be nice to go through the field tonight and watch as everybody tries to compete for that front row. It's always a very tight race. Cruz, what are your thoughts for tonight?
I am looking to see who can get the pull tonight, obviously lock their way in, get some money from me. I'm feeling very, very special about this year's event. We're back to a full week of activities where I mean, you and I are coming off of 10 years of knowing each other. I mean, this year we're entering, what, the 14th, 13th year of this event, if not more. I mean, this is the longest hosted iRacing event, and I'm just excited to kick it off with you.
It is, and it's crazy to think that we've known each other for 10 years, and it's been 10 years since you won that crazy event. I almost won it, and then I ended up getting wrecked coming off of turn 4, and then there I go into the wall, and here you go spinning through pit road, and you get to win the race. And right now on the racetrack, Aaron Smith in that infamous yellow machine is lining up on pit road. He's getting ready to go.
Aaron in his standardized yellow car rolling off. I believe last year he was a top 10 qualifier in terms of time here, but yet again we're only taking the top 2. So at the we're currently looking at around 34 drivers trying to be one of the 2 to lock their way in, so they don't have to go through the heat races on Friday. Typically some of those have been clean, some of them have been very ugly. You want to just clear all the stress around this weekend with today's Q lap.
That's right, because here's the thing with the heat races. You're going to have about 30 to 40 cars in each heat, and they're an intense 40 laps. Only the top 12 in each heat get to advance, and if you can skip that, you're going to be happier than you know it by the end of that, because they are some wild races, and you have the second chance race after the heat races on the same night, then the last chance qualifier on Saturday. So lots of racing action to happen here between tonight and next weekend. And then last night we had the shootout where Kevin McAdams ended up claiming victory, which is also a wild race. Aaron, he's getting ready to fly off into turn 1 here. He's doing 191 miles an hour. Here's one thing with this Gen 6. It is not slow. We were hitting speeds of 210, 211 last night in the pack.
Yeah, last night's shootout was a pretty good test race for everybody involved. I want to add some storylines entering this qualifying session. Parker Alexander was the pole winner last year. The only person to ever repeat was Ashley Collins. She got the pole in 2021 and 2022. So let's see if Parker can defend that when it is his time, as we see Aaron Smith coming out of turn 4 to complete the first Q lap of the session.
And that's important, the first and only qualifying lap. I bet he'll dump it below the yellow line here, and he does. Let's see what kind of a lap he runs. Gets a 46.970 based on what we've seen in practice. That should be a fairly competitive lap. He's going to pull it off the track, and next up is Nicholas Pressey in the number 25.
For what it was worth in the practice session that these drivers had before this, Aaron Smith was the second fastest driver. So not only a good baseline to understand how fast people are going to be, but a contender right off the bat for somebody who's going to be fighting for these top 2 positions.
That's correct, and I think every year we always end up having a good 10 to 12 drivers that are really competitive for those top 2 spots, and one little wrong move of that wheel can be a detriment to your lap, whether it's coming off pit road or going into turn 1. People say Daytona Talladega don't take talent, but I'm going to tell you something. Even when you look at last night and last year and the previous years, it's usually the same 10 to 12 drivers up front controlling the race every single year, and there's a reason for that.
You know, you bring up skill. I want to mention this as Nicholas throws it into turn 3 in his warm-up here. I normally ask Emily and Parker, because they've been in the booth the last couple of years, at what point do you win this Q lap? Sometimes we argue that they need to get through the apron in turns 1 and 2 on their initial takeoff. Other people's argue that you need to be able to carry as much speed through 3 and 4 right before you take the green. What is your opinion of where this lap can be won or lost at?
So it's a puzzle. You got to think of it as a puzzle, this track. So first of all, you need to have a good run down the back straightaway on your warm-up lap to set you up to get to the start-finish line at a good pace. You want to aim to be about 100, at the very top end of 188, approaching 189 mile an hour when you hit that start-finish line. And then you really got to have a very smooth turn 1. You don't always necessarily want to glue the yellow line. You want to get close to it, but you don't always necessarily want to glue it because you want to have a little bit of a run going down the back straightaway. So you almost want to dime in the corner a little bit, as Nicholas Presley looks like they did just a hairline off turn 4. Let's see how competitive they are here at the line. 47.008. I unfortunately don't think that's going to be close for them, but like I said, hey, it's qualifying. It doesn't truthfully matter at the end of the day. What really matters is next weekend in the races, but it's always fun to come out here, get your face on TV for a lap.
Corey Cook, the next one out of pit lane, a Winstel regular over the past couple seasons in our throwback series. Corey, a veteran of the Winstel 400, or at least attempting to it. I don't believe Corey has actually been able to qualify in. Yet again, we typically have close to 80 entries a year trying to qualify in for about 36 spots once we take an account of all the provisionals and stuff. Looking to try and get in this year based on his Q lap. I don't know if based on his practice speed, he's going to be a contender for this, but let's see if he can improve his time.
Well, he is in the 1998 Dale Senior machine, so he probably has it cheated up a little bit, probably has the spoiler knocked down and got past tech inspection by putting his foot under the front fender here. So we'll see what he's got. Like I said, it's Daytona, really anything can happen, but some people do just find their way around this track a little bit better than others. So we'll see. Looks a little slow coming to the line there. He's only at 187 miles an hour, so not off to a great start right there.
I think he may have washed up a bit in turns 3 and 4, got a little close to that outside wall, and may have maybe slowed himself down with a little bit of a bubble there, and I think that's where the lack of speed at the start-finish line came from.
Yeah, and then he glued the yellow line going into turn 1, which I know on paper sounds like a great idea when you're racing at a pack or something, but when you're wanting to carry the most amount of speed, you want to be able to shave off the least amount of speed going into the corner. When you're just gluing that yellow line all the way around, you can have a tendency to shave off more speed than what you intend to when you're flying into the corner. He did have good speed down the back straightaway, though, so might be able to make up a little bit of that time as he comes off turn 4.
One thing to note as he's coming into the trial, you see a bit of damage, visual damage on that front splitter as he crosses the line. That's going to put him right at a 47.071, and that is taking third place, or last, rather, away from Nicholas at the moment. I want to mention how flat these cars are against the racing surface. I mean, if you look at how sealed off all these cars are, I mean, a lot of these cars, and you're going to notice every time they come around to end their lap, you're going to see just a little visual damage on that front splitter and valence. That's just due to how far down we got these cars are.
Yeah, and you'll also notice when they come out of pit road, the back end of the car is up. So once this car gets up to speed, the whole rear suspension just collapses and drops that spoiler as low as it can to the ground. So this thing's really set up for speed here. Like I said, every straightaway, you're looking at about 192 mile an hour, which if you compare that to the next gen car, you're only doing what, 180, 181. So we got about 11 mile an hour speed difference between the next gen car and this car. These cars really are wild. They're a lot faster in the pack. There's a lot more closing rate. There's a lot more passing that happens and a lot more slingshot and 3-wide opportunities. So you're going to see some great racing next weekend, just as you've seen the last few years. And it's been the exact same setup for the last 3 years as well.
Yes, an Emily Howe design setup. I want to mention, you talked about how the drafting and everything happens with this car specifically, or versus other ones on the service. One thing I like about this car the most is that runs and momentum and everything manifests. You don't have to really work the track for a whole lap and a half to get something started. If you and three of your buddies are able to get nose to tail, you can make progress very, very quickly with this setup, unlike other setups and unlike other cars on the service.
That's very true, and also a tandem plays an important factor in getting speed in this car as well. So there's a multitude of factors going into this thing, and it just makes for some absolutely incredible racing. iRacing hasn't nailed it with the new draft model and the other cars, but they certainly nailed it with this one. Gabe seems to have a relatively strong lap. What's he going to get here? Competitive. 46.997. So that silver bullet machine, which he has been tried and true to the last few years, running a competitive lap. He's second on the board right now.
At 200ths off of Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith, yet again, looking like a force to be reckoned with as we go through our qualifying session here. Dylan C. Jones in a plain white car. If you've been a part of the Winstel 400 test sessions over the last month or so, this is what a lot of people's vehicles look like. They were either gray or matte white. Either way, looking like very much like a test car as we enter this Winstel 400 week.
Yeah, and honestly, part of that is they just don't have a car painted up for the Gen 6. This thing hasn't been used anywhere official now since the next gen came out. It's basically a legacy car with the full price still attached on iRacing. They haven't made a legacy car yet. So a lot of people just haven't touched this thing, and we're probably the only people that even use it for anything at this point.
Yeah, I haven't really seen any other events or any other series using it. One thing to note that we typically see, in these heat races, I mean, Dylan C. Jones, as an example here, he hasn't, as I stated, he hasn't been part of the, practice sessions this month. A lot of these drivers, if you've been used to the next-gen car or even just the B car or anything on the service right now, you might hop into the heat race as that's your first test of what this car is like, what this setup is like. If you've been on the service for many years, you might be, familiar with what it used to be like. But a lot of these drivers are hopping in this car kind of blind for the first time every December.
That's true, and you really see that a lot in the test sessions. Even last night, the 400 shootout that we did, we all kind of forgot this car has some tire wear to it. So after about 10 laps on the track, we were all starting to push going into the corner exit. So there's even a bit of handling aspect that comes into play with this. Seems like he's got an okay lap here. I'm interested to see where he falls, but I don't think it's going to be on pole. Moves to second with the 46.987. So that moves Gabe out of that second spot. And Steve Brown, who has been with Winstel the last couple of years, is about to take his lap. He's been a very active contributor to Winstel. He's been keeping track of all the Rookie of the Year points and stuff like that during our seasons, and probably continue to do the same thing here going into 2007. This year, he actually gets to be my teammate. He's in that number 10 Vavely machine this year.
You mentioned Steve as a contributor to the league. I kind of want to just quickly shout out the people who have made Winstel, remain a strong league. I mean, there's been several times, where it's like, oh, I don't know if we're going to continue next year. A couple years ago, we had very, very small, I say a couple, probably like 6 years ago, we had very small car counts. But you, Tyler, Dylan, Gabe, Sean, all of the Christian Budd, Philip Snipe, our current admin for this qualifying session. I mean, the work that you guys have put in to keep this league not only growing but succeeding. I mean, we are having record turnouts last year for races deep within the season. I mean, how does that feel to be around this long, see all your hard work and everything grow to what it is now?
I mean, it feels good. Like I said, or you said, I haven't done that by myself by any means of the word. Especially not the last 4 years now, with the season-long format and the yearly season stuff that we got going on, the theme stuff, I should say. Because I remember at the end of 2021, I think it was 2020 or 2021, we're all kind of like, you know what, we're not in a good spot as far as iRacing goes, because there was no dynamic track. It was all single groove. The tracks didn't have the grip strips or anything. We're just done with it. And then Bud came up to me, put a punt after we shut it down. And he goes, I want to try this with 2006 being the idea. And I don't want to completely ignore Steve Brown here because he's out here running a semi-competitive lap, it looks like. He's coming to the line real quick. We'll cut into back to that conversation here shortly. He got a 47.077. Hey, like I said, he got his free TV time. We appreciate Steve, so we're glad he came out. You're not always going to be the fastest on the track, but you know what? That doesn't mean he's going to not make the race next weekend.
It always seems to be the ones where you kind of come back from conversation and save it to where, oh, it looks like he's running competitive, and he's bottom of the chart.
No,
it just always happens that way.
But you know what? I can't remember if Steve made it last year, not in last year's race, but if he didn't, I'm pretty sure he's close. He could find his way up through the pack in this next weekend. So I wish Steve the best because, like I said, he's a good guy and great to have around. Right now, you got Travis Massier coming out there. Looks like another Canadian driver as we slowly invade Winstel. He's coming down the back straight away now. But yeah, as far as the theme season stuff go, I remember Bud came up to me about a month after we closed and he goes, I want to try this out. So I was like, oh, do we really want to do this again? Anyways, him and I and a couple others quietly went and tested extra loose setups and stuff like that because this is when we only had the ARCA car, not even Gen 4 at all. And we got it working good, and then honestly the season just kind of grew and grew and grew after that. Now next year for 2007 we've only got, I believe, 9 spots left. We've already got 71 drivers entered for the 2007 season, and we're a month and a half away from the season starting still.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. I mean, when we've all been a part of leagues and we've all seen them. You know, sometimes they don't even make it to the end of a season, much less 2 or 3, much less having so many. You know, almost an entire field of go homers entering any week. I mean, I've been super proud to be a part of this league in any form that I can contribute, and I'm sure everybody else is. As Travis comes down out of turn 4, entering this tribal, fighting to lock himself into the Winstel 400. Let's go ahead and check and see. We've seen a
2-1 puts him 5th.
I was gonna say we've seen a common thing of everybody going below that yellow line. I think that's another big factor in how your lap is going to go. If you go too fast, you're going to wipe off or scrape off a lot of speed fighting against that flat track.
Yeah, and here comes another driver. He's run the Winstel 400 a few times. Roger Saucier. And going into next year, he actually signed up to race the Winstel Cup Series as well, so he's going to be a full-time driver. If I remember right, he's driving the number 11 at Denny Hamlin for next year in Winstel. But for this year's race in the 400, he's driving that number 7 Denso machine. He's always a competitive racer in this. He usually gets himself up in the mix, so I wish him the best of luck this year as well. It's never an easy race. There's always lots of competition out there, and realistically, you have 20 to 30 guys that can easily win this race when we get to next Sunday.
Absolutely. I want to mention one thing that Roger did versus some other guys. We saw him enter turn 1 on the apron around 84 miles an hour. He kind of hovered there, and then once he entered the apex of the apron, then he stood on the gas, and then he exited closer towards that grass. This is one of the things that I was talking about at the start of the session of how people get through the apron. Typically, you know, is a good indication of what type of lap speed they're going to have. We see Roger looking right at 188, trying to push.
Yeah,
189.
This could be competitive here, and we actually added in the you have to merge the blue cone last year as an added challenge to qualifying, right? Because let's be honest, like I said before, all we did is we cleared your black flag when you went out, but now you actually have to be able to merge properly. So it's kind of fun watching drivers try and get the most out of it on that apron that they can. It's an added challenge to this. For some people, I'm sure they don't enjoy it, but you know what? It's part of it. It's part of a little bit more fun. Makes it a bit more interesting, but he is on a competitive lap, I'd say 192 off into turn 3, and he's not looking too slow through turns 3 and 4 here.
Ticking over 190 as he enters that apron. He's going to cross the line at 188. That's going to put him at a 47.015. That is 5th on the board at the moment. Yet again, we're taking the top 2, but good showing from Roger.
I thought he was going to be at least in the 46s there because he was looking pretty competitive. Now, Colt Huff, he's a new entry for the Winstel 400 this year in the number 2 car.
Yet again, a driver that I'm personally unfamiliar with. I don't think I've ever ran against Colt, so I'm curious to see how he performs here.
Yeah, but like I said, that's what's kind of fun with the 400. So at this point, like I would say for this year, we got 78 drivers signed up so far. You can still register until Thursday night to a cap of 85. I would say about 65 of those drivers probably this year are returning to the Winstel 400s. It's pretty cool to see how many people keep on coming back to this race, and on top of it, really, I believe we're the only 3 to enter race with this kind of prize purse, so that's pretty cool as well. And of course, that's thanks to you and Emily.
I was going to say a purse of $1,000, just to remind everybody. Speaking of, Colt looking to, edge his history into this historic event, I was talking with some of the Winstel gang, this past weekend and stuff. I mean, we've been around for so long. Everybody has stories of how they performed in their heats or duels, how they performed in the main event, how close you and other drivers have come. Some of you guys have been leading, with 2 to go on the white flag and stuff, and just, a line didn't work out or whatever. But we've been around for so long that it's not only an achievement to win this race, but to be able to say you started, multiple years. You have top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes. I mean, that's one of the most incredible things about this event with how long it's been going on.
Yeah, and it really is. It's part of the history now, right? I'll cut back to it. Colt Huff here about to complete his lap. See where he lands. Looked a little slow to start. Came in with the 47.072 towards the bottom of the pack. Second last right now, just behind Corey Cook. So not the strongest performance he probably wanted, but hey, someone's got to be down there. And Sean Peleg, he's been around Winstel for a long time. But yeah, this race really has history to it. This is the 14th year, and it used to be called the I Got Balls 250 back in the day. And to say, or what was I going to say there? If it wasn't for this race, I don't think you would have Winstel, to be honest, because this race actually allowed us back in the day to grow a community. This race started out as me, Bates, Tyler, and Bobby Campbell saying, "Oh, let's just do this race with the $20 purse. That we got something that looks like the Fox sticker. I'll tell you, it looked like something, okay?" And it was a $20 purse. It was the Gen 6 back then, and that was when tandems were a thing on iRacing, and we broke them up. We made the setup super hard to drive at Old Daytona. We taped up the cars, and the racing was really fun, but it was kind of hard to pass because you had to really strategize your pass because it was so hard to drive. What a great race it was, and the event just built and built and built from there, and here we are now 14 events later. That was in July of 2013 that we had our first what is now called the Winstel 400 as Sean Pellet comes off turn 2. He should be competitive for the front row, or at least lay down a semi-decent time. He's got the Howes and Greg Biffle machine on there. Looks to do 192 mile an hour off to the corner. He joined Winstel, if I remember properly, back in 2018.
I mean, going all the way back in history books, I'll wait till Sean finishes his lap here, then we'll throw some historic winners out following this. But what a beautiful looking car. As we cross the line, we look at a 46.997. That's tying Gabriel as well. But I mean, going back all the way to 2013, I mean, Chris Overland was the first winner of this event back when it was 250 miles, back when nobody even knew that it would continue. I mean, you mentioned that was in the spring or the summer of that year. I mean, we've had this event be pushed back due to other situations, but I believe it's ran the summer twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think we did it this summer in 2018 as well, just because of like personal things going on. We ended up running it in summer that year instead of winter. But historically speaking, ever since 2014, outside of I'm getting called to the line here, which I will do in a second. Historically speaking, it has been a summer race since the first week of January race since 2015, which Evan Melanson won that race. Kevin McAdams is out there now. I'm going to have to go silent because I got to do my lap.
Course, go right ahead as McAdams comes to start his lap. I'm looking through really fast just to see how many times McGee has finished in the top 5. As stated, he finished 4th in 2015. just saying that as McGee gets ready to head on down the pit lane. McAdams has been a contender each and every year. He's been a part of this event. Him, Sean Butler, typically those guys are working together, plus their group of drivers and stuff. I mean, this is a driver who is going to be up front in the heats, in the main race. I really have no doubt in my mind that McAdams is going to qualify for this race through the duels, just by how well they are able to manipulate the draft and be there.
And we saw that a lot last night, too, with how the shootout sort of played out. Kevin McAdams, he was up there near the front of the race all race long in the shootout. So, again, a lot of experience, a lot of veteranship there. Obviously, cutting his teeth amongst a really good group of drivers. Qualifying looks good as well. He goes top of the board. That is a 46.962 to take provisional pole and demote Aaron Smith, who was feeling a little bit comfy at the top of the board. Now, no longer the case. Kevin McAdams in the 26 car now goes number 1.
As stated, McAdams going to be a contender. We see that McGee kind of spun the tires there. You can spin the tires once you are allowed to leave the pit lane. I was able to look it up and just very quickly. I mean, as I've stated, McGee has become a front contender in these races, but he do his 2 fourth-place finishes in 2018 and in 2015. Unfortunate luck, as stated, has robbed McGee of wins. I mean, when we look back at the history of this event, I mean, I think McGee and Doucette have been the 2 drivers who have been the closest to getting victories that just haven't been able to have it materialize. Emily Howe was able to win this event a couple years ago. Same thing with Christian Budd. Those were also drivers who were able to be up there. I think, I think everybody says this can be McGee's year. This can be the time that he can see it through. I mean, he's ran in every single event. Obviously, he's been the host and one of the people who have ran in all these events, but he's come close so many times.
We're seeing him take his run now. See what he can do, see where he can place that 94 car. He ran a throwback car. They entered as a battery the green machine last year. Now back in his normal paint scheme for the 400. Then McDonald's number 94, made popular by Bill Elliott. And to a lesser degree, Andy Houston, for those that grew up in the 2001 season. Looking pretty
As we look
good.
back at our last, I was going to say very quickly, you know, McAdams was able to win our shootout last night. McGee came in second as he comes across the line here at 189. That's going to put him right at third on the board, just short of knocking Aaron Smith out. But as I stated, McGee has been up front in nearly every single Winstel 400. He finished second in last night's event, third on the board right now. I mean, we're going to see McGee contend this week for sure.
That wasn't the lap I wanted. I messed up coming off of the pit road, coming down the back straightaway. I got a little bit loose on the apron. I was like, crap, I just threw it away. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I was just a little bit off there. But right now, Kevin McAdams ran a very good lap, which I figured he'd be very competitive. Looking at the scoreboard from practice, he was very competitive almost every lap he ran. I was hoping to at least run a very low 7, but that didn't happen. Right now, Steve Buchanan's out there. I think this is his first Winstel 400 as well. But back to Kevin McAdams. He has he's run many Winstel 400s. He's been there almost every year. He's been close to winning a few times, depending on the way things shake out. He's also a driver that's very competitive. Him and the FTF gang usually come out and run him. Sean Butler, Nate Stewart, Justin Malello, a few of them usually come out and join in on the action. It's always great to have them.
Steve starts his lap coming across the tri-oval. I was mentioning the fact that you were spinning your tires a bit more than we've seen other people. I was saying that you can't spin your tires on pit lane, but once you get the green to leave pit lane, you're able to. Do you think that obviously you missed your mark by just a hair on the time, but do you think that is something that we're going to see more of once we start getting more and more people through? Because Aaron Smith didn't do that. Kevin McAdams didn't do that when we look at these times on the board right now.
I played with it in practice. It didn't really seem to make a huge difference one way or another, to be honest. So I don't know how much it's really going to affect or not affect things. But I think it's really just driver preference or maybe our mindset, just seeing how things go or hoping it goes one way or another. As Steve here comes to the line at 190 miles an hour. Ran a 47.052. He's down towards the bottom of the pack as well. I'm surprised you don't have more times than 46s yet, but there's still a lot of drivers to go. We got 38 cars on the server.
One thing I noticed, it looks like there's a magic number that you want to leave, that you want to be in, you want to really hit when you're at a turn 2. And that's determining how close people get to those 46s. And it looks like the magic number what McAdams ran when he exited pit lane and got on the racetrack at a turn 2 was 153 on the exit of turn 2 on his warm-up lap. So if people can get close to that, they may have something. But it's how close can you get without crossing that yellow line and getting a penalty.
Yeah, that sounds about right, to be honest. Like, I'd say if you're not at least 151, you're probably not going to be competitive there, because that really sets up your run to come to the start-finish line is what that does, as long as you don't burn too much speed by turning the wheel too much or anything going through turn 3 and 4. Tristan Baker in the Carl Edwards machine, he's ran this car actually, or Carl Edwards, excuse me, Greg Biffle, he's ran this car the last couple Winstel 400s. It's actually a very good-looking machine, of course. Unfortunate what happened to Greg Biffle and his family here the other week, for those that everyone would know by now. But yeah, very good looking machine on that number 60 car, and he's been running that now for a few years.
Yeah, I'm sure one of many.
Sorry about that, Brandon. Yeah, the greatest. One of those didn't have the greatest exit onto the racetrack on his warm-up lap. However, did have one of the top 6 fastest the speeds across the start-finish line.
Yeah, so it could be competitive here. He's usually fairly competitive in the race and in qualifying, historically speaking, so I expect him maybe not to be on pole, but he should be probably around that top 5 mark, plus or minus a car. So we'll see what happens here. He's about to come to the start-finish line. Time's going to tell. 47.001. He was almost into that 46 marker, and like we were saying earlier, all it takes is one little smidge of a wrong move, and you do not run a 46. You're out.
You know, we look back at the Heat last, I mean, not even just last year, every year this qualifying usually comes down to several hundredths, if not thousands at the top. I mean, yet again, that's why I was emphasizing so much of what goes in this lap versus just, I'm going to show up and just do a Q lap. As we see Kyle Benson, this time a Winstel regular, a Winstel 400 regular, a driver that has been, a pretty decent mid-pack and fighting to become a front runner in the regular weekly Winstel series.
Yeah, and honestly, he's made some great strides, I would say, over the course of this last year and a half. You've noticed him a lot more battling inside that top 10 in the Winstel Cup series, and he's a fairly competitive plate racer too, so I do expect Kyle Benson to be able to make the field. He's sporting his number 38 machine, but he's really changing things up for 2007 this year. Going to be Christina Ryan's teammate in that number 83, actually, is what he's going to be running, that Red Bull machine. So it'll be weird to see him in that, but for right now, going into next weekend, at least he's in a normal number we can recognize him with.
Yeah, I think mentally a lot of people just see the 38 in the Winstel gang and just like, hey, that's Kyle in the 38. It's like, default. Even though we've had so many people switch in and out of cars over the years, there's some drivers who are just known by one number,
and he would be known by the 38, so it's going to be a mess seeing him in something completely different next year. Just like you're known for the 20, I'm known for the 94 or the 9, so if we ever swapped out of those, we're going to be a disaster.
All you have to do is swap the numbers. He'll be fine. He's in the 83.
46.995 competitive lap puts him up to 5th place. Obviously not fast enough to get the front row, but hey, that's still a good lap. And to be honest, qualifying position, while these cars are going to swap positions 10,000 times just in the 40-lap heat races alone, if you can start towards the front in those heat races, you have a much bigger advantage than someone that does not. And another legacy member of Winstel, someone who I've been racing with since 2009. Yeah, it's been that long. It'll be 17 years this coming year, okay? Back on NASCAR Racing 2003, it's Hayden Rapa. Back in the original Full Throttle Race League ran by Tyler Head back in the day. I've definitely known Hayden a long time, and something exciting for Hayden is he finally upgraded from his 15-year-old Momo wheel and pedals. He got himself a G29 this week, so he's racing on a new wheel and pedals, which has been something he has desperately needed, because I know the pedals were going out, and I believe the wheel was going out as well. So that was being quite a detriment to his on-track capability. So I'm sure he's very excited to have a new steering wheel and new pedals under his feet.
Seems to be every time somebody, especially in this day and age, you either go direct drive or you just upgrade from an Momo G25, G27. The jump from, old equipment from the late 20 teens to now is just night and day. Every time somebody jumps up in equipment, you see them increase typically where they run, their skill level across the iRacing board.
Yeah, like I said, G29 and 27, they're not direct drive, but you can still be very fast with one, and many of the Coke drivers use them as well. Still, I believe, nowadays. But like I said, you could be fast at that. But the jump from a Momo to a G29, it's massive. Let's be honest. His old wheel only had 240 degrees of rotation. The pedals hardly functioned. They only function at like 3 different levels: 1/3, 3/4, or full throttle. So he's coming down to complete his lap here. I bet it's going to be a lot faster than what it would have been before. He got a 47.059. He's not last, but if he had those old wheels and pedals, he'd probably be another 10th off of that. So I'm looking forward to Hayden being a little bit more competitive this year, not just in the Winstel 400, but the year as a whole. It'll be good to see. He's needed it for a long time, so that'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely. Speaking of somebody fun to watch, a 2-time fastest lap pole sitter, the Winstel 400. Ashley's looking to try and make it a 3-time, become the first 3-time pole winner. I would absolutely be shocked if this is not a top 5 time, and it's not going to be surprising if she's able to put it as a top 2 time. If I was Aaron Smith right now, I would be severely, very worried about being knocked off.
Yeah, Ashley is very competitive. She puts a lot of time into these qualifying laps, although she was only 149 at the Blue Cone, so we'll see if Carmen's theory holds true or not. Yeah, Ashley's usually quite competitive in the Winstel 400 as well. She's been running this race now, I'd say, a good 4 years. Very aggressive racer, that's for sure. And let's not forget to mention, Cruz, both of those times she started on pole, you know who was beside her? Me.
And close to not only winning this race, but getting the pole in each of these races. Very good start at the line. Obviously, this is going to be a contending lap. You see a bit of a later entry into turn 1, and she is about 8-10 inches off that yellow line, not directly on, like we've seen some other drivers here. Looks like she's going to migrate to about the middle of the back straightaway, and let's see what time she puts up as she enters 3.
This track might be mind-numbing on your own, but here's the thing. There are a few different ways you can run a fast line. And running up a little bit off that line is it is an option. We even seen her almost get the pole one year by not even going all the way to the bottom of the racetrack until the middle of the corner one year with this Gen 6. So like I said, there are a few options of being fast this car. Here she comes. It's a 46.977. She will not knock Aaron Smith off the front row. It still maintains Kevin McAdams, and Aaron Smith will stay on the front row right now. Ashley Kolinick's in a very competitive third, but third, as we all know, it's not enough.
You'll see her next week on the heat races here live on ABM on Friday with a second chance following those 2 races. I do believe that is the right schedule. And then a last chance qualifier on Saturday as we see Philip Snipes looking to try and surpass that time. We're looking at a 151 right at that blue cone. But yet again, Philip, obviously, adminning this right now, has been a huge voice in the admin booth of Winstel over the past couple of years. We keep mentioning people who have helped grow Winstel. Philip is certainly one of those guys who have taken a bigger role over the course of the years. And, I mean, I can't think of anybody who doesn't like Phil. I mean, Philip is such a great individual, and I'm so happy to have known him this long.
Yeah, him and Bates both in the background have helped move things a lot this year. So very much appreciate both of them. They really do help things out. He ran a competitive qualifying lap in practice, so looking forward to see what he can run here. Well, he could be an underdog for the front row, so we're going to find out. like I said, it's really up and down on who's going to get it, but you can always kind of pick out a few names and say they have a chance, and I would say Phil does have a chance here, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, Phil, he's been great to have around. He's been here since Winstel's inception and even beforehand, of course. It's been great to have his help. He came on as an admin a couple of years ago now, so he's definitely got his feet wet the first year, and this last year he's really been a big help in behind the scenes. 46.996 fast lap, just not enough, but he is towards the top third of the charts, which again, like I said, just because you don't qualify front row here doesn't mean that doesn't translate to the heats, because if you can get a good starting spot in the heats and you can keep yourself up towards the front, you're going to be laughing, because it's the top 12 that advance in each of those heat sessions and the second chance race Friday night, and they're going to be competitive races. But if you can start, say, third or fourth instead of 38th, you got a much better shot than the driver starting 38th.
You know, you mentioned, you know, the heat races and where you start those. While this qualifying session only sets the starting 2 positions for the grid next Sunday, yet again, or at least I was mentioning that people aren't familiar with this car. They might not know how the setup works, how it feels. I mean, we've talked about how low it is and how different the setup acts versus other ones. This is still a very good practice for those heat races. I mean, you still have to qualify for that as well. When we look at where people are qualifying, I mean, you have Philip, Gabe, Sean, Tristan Baker, all in the top 10 right now. I mean, I think if you can end up, you know, a top 12 time once this session is over, you have a really decent chance of starting the top 5 in your heat. And I mean, that's half the battle complete, is starting with the track position.
Yeah, that's true, albeit the only problem is with this car, unlike the next gen or say truck or whatever you want to compare it to, you could be 5th one lap, and just as well as you know, you could be 22nd the next lap, because these things, the lane that's in motion can change wildly one lap to the other. But we were talking about it a little bit early on in this broadcast. Tire wear matters. It almost feels like it matters a little bit more this year for whatever reason. We were definitely struggling with it in the shootout race. But time and time again, I find the drivers that put the time into practice, whether qualifying, but especially the race, and those that have experience on this setup, they always tend to perform well, because they put it 3 wide with drivers. They know what it's going to do when they're in the middle. They know what it's going to do when they're up top or on the bottom. They always seem to perform well in this car. Those that are comfortable with it and have the time and the effort that they put in, they usually end up towards the front, and you're seeing that a lot now, especially with the repeat drivers for the Winstel 400. They're showing up, and they're doing good.
Crumbs into the trial here. He's going to finish with a lap time right at 47.057. Not a bad showing for the first-time attempt driver. Up next is the 2023 winner of the Winstel 400, Sean Butler.
Yeah, Sean's a great guy. He's been racing the Winstel 400 now, I believe, at least since 2020. He ran the race right before COVID decided to strike, and that was a very fun race. Remember the big crash off turn 2 on the final lap? That was like a 30-car wreck, but that was an incredible race, that one, and he's ran the Winstel 400 ever since, and it's been great to have him around. And like you mentioned, he won the race in 2023. He's always competitive at the front of the field. Last year didn't go the way he wanted, blew his motor, I believe it was on lap 6, and unfortunately when that happens, even if you have a faster pair, it's a lot to claw back from after having to get a tow and everything. And look at how nice and shiny that 81 is. He's in a different number because someone took his usual 96 ride, but I'm telling you, that 81, that thing just shines really nice, and it's looking great out there. That Pennzoil machine, it's looking fast, and here he comes.
Yeah, we expect him and Kevin McAdams to work well. Same thing with Nate Stewart. We mentioned the FTF gang, you know, typically going, you know, trying to control the race here. You mentioned 2020, as stated, due to the lore and history that this race has had. You know, obviously different finishes are famous for different things, but that race that Logan Clampett won in 2020, it was actually just Logan Clampett and Seth the Merchant, and then the rest of the field finished almost 19 seconds back because we had a gigantic crash, and I believe with you and Emily Howe coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most violent wrecks of my racing career. I barrel rolled about 15 times. It was basically the 2001 EA Sports 500 finish, I would say. Here comes Sean Butler, 46,983. Not enough, but he moved me back a spot, and he's moved himself into fourth. So looks like he's going to end up having to run the heats, but I fully expect him to be able to make the race almost no problem. He's a great driver. He's a great plate racer. Like I said, we talk about how some people say plate racing doesn't take talent, but again, he's one of those drivers that you can pick out and say, that guy's a great plate racer. He knows his way, how to get to the front. If he's at the back, that's Sean Butler, and he knows how to stay there.
Yeah, great racer is an understatement. If you were ever in a session on the iRacing service with Butler, you're going to see him in a top 5 position. It doesn't matter what track, especially the plate races and 87 cars. I mean, he is always up in the front as Hal is heading down the back straightaway here in their number 20 machine.
Yeah, speaking of new drivers, this is a new entry into the Winstel 400 this year. So be interested to see how some of the rookies do. I mean, you can actually call them rookies now if it's their first time racing the Winstel 400 because we've been around so long. So it's interesting to see because, again, I'd say we got about probably 12, 13 rookies this year is my guesstimate. And he would be one of them. Again, the rookies, sometimes they can struggle a little bit in their heats because these are very, very intense races. Sometimes those heat races, you can see it 3 wide all the way from 1st to 30th. So it'll be interesting to see how some of these drivers navigate it because I guarantee you a lot of these rookies have never raced this Gen 6 in a pack before.
And, I mean, not only that, you have to deal with when do you pit, when do the cautions come out. I mean, this is a tough event. It's very difficult to just show up and perform well at it, even if it's a plate race, even if it's at Daytona, even if everybody's done this before. This is still a very, very difficult event with the amount of people and talent involved here, as Hal is going to cross the line right at 189. That's a 47.
Middle of the pack.
019 for them. But I look forward to seeing how they were able to perform in their heat race on Friday.
Yeah, and again, like I said, the rookies are going to be drivers to watch. Now, Parker Alexander, he's also been around the league a long time. He's going out there with the Red Mist Biffle machine. He's going to be going out there. Good-looking machine to represent Greg Biffle. Here he comes. He's got the Roush, or the Greg Biffle font numbers and everything on the what was Greg Biffle's Wii machine from way back in 2008, I want to say. I might have the year wrong on that. Someone can correct me. But good-looking machine out there. He looks like got a good start coming down the back straightaway, 151 mile an hour at the blue cone.
Yeah, once again, your pole sitter for the 2024 Winstel 400.
That's right. I forgot he was on pole last year, so he should be competitive again. Same setup, basically the same conditions.
Yeah, looking at, and you stated another Greg Biffle throwback, which I envision we will see many of those in the pack next week. 188 right at the line. Yet again, if I'm Aaron Smith, this is the driver that I'm fearing, and once they pass through, I think I just have to survive Nicholas Doucette and maybe 2 other people, and then I think I'm going to be safe.
Yeah, it's really hard to say, and I guess I shouldn't say it was the same conditions as last year, but would have been the same conditions as the year before. Last year was actually the first time we ran qualifying under the lights. The only thing under the lights this year is the last chance qualifier, and that's it.
He's bringing it out of turn 4 this time by, trying to make it a 2-time pole sitter. Let's see what he's able to do here in the stick with the Biff 63 machine. He's coming across the line. That's going to put Parker right at around 7th on the board.
Very competitive, but again, just not enough. At 46.988, it actually put him out on the board, right behind Dylan Jones and in front of Kyle Benson. So again, very competitive lap, so that'll be good for him. Now we got Lucas Davila entering the racetrack. He's just exited pit road. He's a newer driver to Winstel. He just started racing last year, so he's been a very, and I got a really nice about him. He's my other teammate. He's the number 19 next year. Okay. He's been a very competitive driver. He's been up there battling for top 10s in the Winstel Cup Series. And so far with the car tomorrow testing that we've been having for next year, he's been battling for the lead. So he could be one to fight with all year long next year. So I know he was excited for this race going into tonight, or going into this coming weekend. He's got a good looking and sharp car out there. So hopefully he does well as he comes off turn 4 and gets ready to start his lap.
Yeah, ran this event last year. Yet again, this is a situation of the Winstel community. A lot of people, show up for this race and then enjoy the festivities of it, how it's ran, and then end up joining our year-long series on Sundays. So Lucas is just another prime example of that.
It is, and it's exciting. It's great to have folks join us through this event. I'm glad they get to have fun, because that's what this whole event is about. Yeah, it's serious, but we're here to have fun. The goal of this event is to put on a great race for the community. It's free to enter. Anyone can show up and race launch, meet the minimum requirements, and put on a good show. Like, take it serious, put on a good show. And we did last year, like I said, many years in a row now. You get 2-3 wide racing, sometimes 4 wide in dire straight moments. And here comes Lucas Davila off turn 4 to the line. Let's see what he gets. 190 mile an hour as he goes down to the apron. He held the speed well there, 46.993. So again, competitive lap just behind Parker Alexander. But once again, just not enough. Kevin McAdams and Aaron Smith are holding very strong for that front row up there.
Been a stressful session for Aaron. First one out, still in one of the top 2 positions, including Tyler Murray. At the moment, there'll be 18 cars left. I'll be after Tyler here, but yet again, Tyler B. Murray, another driver who has been very much a contender in the Winstel Cup Racing Series and in the Winstel 400 weeks. I'm looking forward to racing against Tyler. Him and I always seem to be around each other.
Yeah, he's been around Winstel since we ran our 2003 or 2004 season, I believe. So he's approaching what you can call a longer-term member at this point, and he's always fun to have in the league. A good guy to have around, and it looks like he's out there in his Dale-inspired looking machine, except it's in white and blue. TJ's team, it says on it, and KBRN network on the front of the car. It looks like possibly Broadcast Network. So good luck to him. Again, he made the race last year. I can't remember where he finished, though. I'd have to bring that up, but I do remember him making the race. And that alone is a feat, because you got to beat half the field just to get into the race as it is.
I gotta get ready to get strapped in, so I will return in about 3 laps or so.
All right, sounds good. Good luck down there, driver. Hopefully you can go out there and take him out and have a good lap. Tyler Murray down the back straightaway here at 190 mile an hour. I suspect it'll be 192 as he enters turn 3, which he just hits. Good looking ride out there for him as he enters turn 3. He's scraping the apron there just a little bit. That shaved off a little bit of speed. That's probably not going to help him too much. Down to 187 off turn 4. That's probably not where he wants to be, but it should still be a halfway decent time as he comes to the start finish line now. He turns at 47.078. That clipping the apron really killed him there in turn 3 and 4. And unfortunately, that's just what happens. You have one little mistake, and it ends your qualifying run, unfortunately. Now, here's the guy who has helped the league greatly, both financially and otherwise, over the course of many years. Him and Emily Howe both put up the prize purse every single year for this event and have done so since 2019. So huge thank you to them. Cruz also helps the league out financially as well, as far as Winstel Cup goes. You can check him out at Brandon Cruz DFS. He does a lot of fantasy sports and podcasts and stuff like that. Now he works for True DFS. He gets paid by them and does a lot of predictions there. His stuff is pretty good. Definitely good to use if you want to go check him out. Definitely worth your time if you're into the fantasy, NASCAR, or football, or anything like that. So here he comes off turn 4. Didn't have the greatest exit down to the back straightaway, I don't think. But again, he just enjoys being in the field. He doesn't care if he's running 30th or running first. Cruz is just out there to have a good time. Here he comes, 188 mile an hour. And touches 191 off into turn 1 there, so looks like he is going to recover a little bit of his speed. So his lap isn't over yet, holding 188 all the way through turn 2. Actually had quite a good exit there.
And again, it's not all gloom and doom if you don't get front row here. Again, most of the field won't. It's all about duels on Friday, and for those that did the shootout last night, they have a leg up on how this car is going to handle when we get to Friday for those duels and how frantic it is.
That's true, albeit most of the ones that raced last night have already ran this car before, so actually Cruz did run a fairly decent time though, 47.007, so right in the middle of the field. And here's the good thing with Cruz, Carmen, just like you and I, we're locked into Sunday.
Yes.
So 40 cars get to race their way in between this and next weekend, and then we got the 5 provisional spots at the back for me, you, Emily, Cruz, and Christian Butt, of course, for helping out with the league greatly. So again, all those people, very much appreciative, and even those that don't have the pass for the race, we really do appreciate you guys, because without having so many and such a good community, this league just would not operate. Mo Perry, he did not race Winstel this last year. He did the 400 last year, but didn't race Winstel Cup, and he ran the year before. He's usually out there, usually fairly competitive in the plate races. I know he loves his plate racing because if I remember correctly, Cruz used to race with him in a super speedway league. Here he comes down the back straightaway, 178 mile an hour into turn 3, not the fastest entry we've seen so far. Let's see as he comes off turn 4, getting ready to start his lap. 188 right there. He did pick it up a little bit. Like I said, even if you do lose your time in certain areas, you can try your best to pick it up in others. It's just very hard to do so. He only hit 190 into turn 1, so I don't know if I don't think it's going to be a front row lap by any means, but it should be somewhere middle of the pack, I assume.
I wander back up here. Yeah, I mean that's a throwback to Rod Car. That was a league that many of the more well-known plate racers used to partake in.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. How you used to race in a super speedway league with him. And here he comes down to the finish line to complete his lap. It's going to be a 47.03. So again, hey, that's how you guys know you came from the same league. Side by side.
Right there with a beautiful car. Normally usually him and I usually fight for the 54 in whatever league we're in.
Well, I think you get the first dibs here on that one. And here comes Tom Willett in a very good-looking, old-school Kodak machine. Definitely a throwback to the old Sterling Marlin cars of the late 80s, early 1990s. Tom Willett, he was new to Winstel this past year, and he's been a great guy to have around and a fun driver to race around as well. So wish him the best of luck. I'm not sure how he is in the Gen 6 on super speedway races. I've never seen him before in it. So really, even to Tom, even though he's been around Winstel for a year now, this is all brand new to him.
To mention that he's also running the Greg Biffle font on his 53.
Yep.
So another nod to the Biff as he comes out of 4 here. One thing I want to mention, we keep talking about people who, regulars in Winstel and stuff. I mean, this is a big event for our league, but it's just a big event for everybody on the iRacing service. I mean, you've had the people who have been involved in Winstel for over a decade now, being a part of this. And then you also have people who, you guys run the Winstel 400. I know somebody who ran that race and stuff. So it's really, really cool to see that, people know about this event and look forward to it, not just in our league, but, in general. Usually we're the kind of event that opens up the new year every time. Everybody at least remembers or thinks of it's the first weekend or two in January. And then that kind of starts all the sim racing across the year.
It really does. It kicks off the entirety of the year, and that's what's kind of exciting about it, because nothing else really going on. Tom turns a 47.033, puts him at 20th, so towards the bottom of the drivers, unfortunately, that have gone. It looks like we stood about 12 or 13 drivers left to turn a lap, so we're getting towards the end. But yeah, it's very exciting to have this be the first race. This year's date kind of fell a little weird. So we're still in 2025 doing 2026 events. Just kind of the way it fell with the new year and everything this year. I didn't really want to run it the week after because then we're kind of getting a little too late. Then we would have been on to January 11th before we really would have gotten started. And by then, sometimes you get other leagues starting up. It's good to have this race be the event to kick off the year. And unfortunately, some people just can't make it because of the holidays, and that's the same with every year. But this has been great. It's always fun to kick it off with the Winstel 400 at the great big event at Daytona. Free dinner again for people, and just go out there and have some fun and have a good time in a good competitive race.
We used to run this race on the 07 layout with the bumpy Daytona. I know and we've ran a various amount of cars. We've ran the COT, obviously the old ARCA car, the Gen 6 and stuff. But what was the reason behind leaving the bumpy Daytona race and coming to this one? And is there any plans to head back to the 07?
So don't get me wrong, the bumpy Daytona are definitely fun. And it was hard to drive, which was the entirety of the whole point of the race. But with the new draft model coming out and stuff like that, we feel that the experience is a lot better with this version of Daytona than it would be on old Daytona. The thing is, with the old Daytona, the high side's already very competitive. So if you take a new draft model machine and put it at old Daytona, well, you're kind of just throwing the race away to the outside only. That and old Daytona, with the pit stops and stuff, at least pitting here, you got the wide pit road entrance. Daytona, you got to fit it between the two yellow cones coming into pit road, which is only about 3 car widths wide, so people can easily get a black flag. And there's just the track itself at old Daytona now just has a bit too much grip as well, which it never used to have. It feels like it's gotten ripped up over the years to accommodate vehicles, which is unfortunate. So it's definitely not the same challenge that it used to be.
Gotcha. As we see, well, I was as Ryan Moyer starts his lap down this back straightaway, during the test race and even last year's event, one would think, and obviously we're kind of top line here, but we both mentioned that this setup that we end up running ends up getting fairly tight, and it ends up pushing quite a lot in the draft. And so while the top line here has a bit of a speed advantage, you end up wearing your tires out to where most time in plate races you don't really worry about taking 4 tires or anything at any point. But here, right in the middle and the bottom ends up saving those tires a lot more than the guys on top. You're going to notice in the heat races and in Sunday's race that you're going to have guys scraping the wall, about midway through the corners, just due to how tight it is and how much wheel they're having to end up putting in the car.
Yeah, and honestly, Ryan Boyer, he's out here now. He ran a little bit of Winstel last year, if I remember correctly. He didn't run too much this season, just ran part-time. He's coming down the back straight at 192 mile an hour. Good to see him back out here again. But yeah, so even though this is new Daytona, I'm going to argue handling is just as much of a factor here at this point as it is Daytona 07. Because Daytona 07, we wouldn't have the corner speed, and you probably wouldn't get any tire wear, if that makes sense. It's just kind of the way the tire model works. So we have a new front row sitter, Ryan Boyer, with the 46.967 unseats Aaron Smith and moves to second spot. That is big.
Huge out of nowhere. I know I wasn't talking about it. Obviously you weren't. I don't think we really expected Ryan. He was he was third fastest in the practice session before this, but I think we just kind of forgot about the potential that he had to move Aaron Smith out of that second position.
That is crazy. So that's going to be really good for him. I'm sure he's jumping for joy right now, but at the same time, he's just trying to hang on for dear life because you just don't know what's going to happen. There's still a few fast drivers out there that got to turn laps. You got Nicholas Doucette, you got Alex Bates, and you got a few others, and Christian Budd, and then a couple others, of course, that we just don't know how they're going to run because it's their first time here for the Winstel 400. Right now, you've got Jacob Smetna out there, and he looks like he's off to a half-decent start. He's got that white 32 machine, another just plain white car out there, probably waiting to get a paint scheme on it, and here he comes to start his lap. But I'm sure Ryan Moyer right now is very, very happy.
I think about around 10 or so, maybe a little bit more drivers left as we get in about this last quarter, if not a little bit less of this qualifying session. But Jacob, yet again, another driver who hasn't ran this car, who has, or at least this week or this month, who hasn't been a part of this week's festivities in the past and stuff. And, you know, another name coming in to try and at least try and make the 400, you know, see where they can finish. Yet again, a top 20 payout on Sunday's event, plus the money that you get for qualifying first today. I mean, for a free race, you know, paying out top 20 positions at the end of Sunday is pretty decent, as we see the 32 machine come across the line right here. That's
another fast lap.
Right around 10th right now, 10th, 11th or so. But still good showing.
994. Yeah, with the 46.994, he ran another competitive lap. Up next, here is the driver I expect to compete for the pole, Nicholas Doucette. Got that Energizer machine back out for another year. That's a good-looking car. I remember him and Ryan Kime ran the Energizer machines either last year or the year before. Nicholas was the only one to make the field out of the two, but a very good looking machine, and it's good to see it back on the track.
Nicholas, same with you, a driver who has become a front runner in the Winstel 400 in years past. A guy who's come close, but just hasn't been able to capitalize either due to luck or just circumstances and stuff to win this event. Now, he was 5th fastest in this Q practice. Yet again, Ryan Moyer was 3rd, and it seems like the times have been a bit slower compared to what everybody ran in the practice before this. But I think of the people remaining, Nicholas has the best chance to take out, or at least not take out, but like, you know, beat Ryan Moyer.
189 at the line. That is the first time we have seen that. So he is off to a very good start right now.
Very, very good start. Focused in, bringing it right to that double yellow line here. I mean, this is going to be close, and it's going to all come down to how he enters the apron when he finishes his lap.
He's hauling the mail right now. He didn't even lose it to 188 mile an hour until last second off turn 2. This could be very competitive for the pole. Qualifying is far from over right now, and Nick's out here showing why. Won't lie, I'm rooting for him a little bit. Fellow Nova Scotian, all right? So it might be a little bit of bias right there as he comes off turn 4, comes down to the start-finish line. Let's see what he gets. Is it going to be competitive? Is it going to put him on the front row? 9:59. We have a new pole sitter. Nicholas Doucette knocks Kevin McAdams to 2nd, and Ryan Moyer, just like that, knocked off the front row. Wow.
Nicholas Doucette with 2 top 5 finishes in this event, coming off a 2nd place finish in 2024 as his best finish here. Looking to finish 1 position better than that, your current pole sitter for this year's event. As we come down to about the last 8 drivers left, looks like Alex Bates is going to be the next driver. And I think a little bit early. This looks like it is the 74 of Carlos in the 74 machine.
Nick Doucette, he's going to join us here for an interview in just a moment, so we're going to go find him. We're going to go get our pit reporters out there and chase after him. So he's going to come down here for an interview. Nick, that was quite the lap. I said as soon as you started it, you hit 189 mile an hour at the start-finish line to start your lap, and you were the only driver to do that so far tonight. We said you were going to be competitive for that pole, but you knocked it out of the park.
Well, I'll tell you what, I surprised myself because I was just trying to remember how it felt, you know, in the qualifying runs we had done there in practice. I mean, everyone's you're kind of hoping that you remember what you did, but for a lot of us, it's been easily over an hour since we were last on the track. And everything felt smooth. You know, I was happy with 1 and 2. I was happy with the outlap. Everything was looking good, but I just felt my car lose a little bit of RPM coming out of 4. And I thought that was what would have given it away. So I truly am shocked. I went faster than I did in practice, but I mean, obviously we're always hoping to get one of the top 2 spots. I've never done it as far as I can remember. There's still people to go. There's still people left to go, but you know, I'm fingers crossed that I can try to lock myself in.
Yeah, and Carl Luciano right now, he's crossing the finish line. Looks like he's turned a 47.037, 24th on the board. And to note, Nick, you're actually one of the only drivers to run a faster time in qualifying than what we ran in practice.
Yeah, I was kind of watching that a little bit as qualifying's been going on. I had the results tab up and just kind of seeing how people were comparing to their practice time, and yeah, just like I said, just everything felt great. Tried to remember everything that I had done in practice and thought I threw it away out of 4, but I guess not.
Well, good luck to you. There's still a few cars left to go, so we'll see what happens here, but there's not too many left, but you could be the pole sitter for your first time in Winstel 400 history, which is pretty exciting. We'll hit you back up here later if that's still the case, so we're rooting for you.
Thank you.
There goes Nicholas Doucette, the current pole sitter. And right now, Alex Bates out there, very, very big help to the league, and I've been racing him since he came around. FTR Flat Out Racing League back in the day on NR 2003, I believe at the end of 2009 he came around, so I've known him very long time. He's an awesome guy and been a huge help on the admin team as well behind the scenes. And again, there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes that many people just don't understand, or the nuances, or what does this little change do to affect this, and how does it have this outcome. And it's been great to have him around and his input. And not only that, he helps with the number reveal and stuff every year, and just a lot of other small things with like Discord and just a lot of other things. It's been great to have Bates around, and he's been a great guy. So wishing him the best as well as he comes down the back straightaway to 192. Looks like he's got a decent lap going here.
He's looking to see what he can do here. As stated, a huge contributor to what makes Winstel Winstel. As he looks to finish his lap here. He's from state of South Georgia and South Salmon Islands. This country. Okay, let's see. He's looking
He
at...
didn't need enough sandwiches. He only got a 993, but still a good lap.
10th fastest so far. Not too bad.
Yeah, that's a
not
very
too
good
shabby.
lap still. So and if he runs that again for the heats again, like we were talking about, that'll set him up for a 5th or 6th starting spot in the heats, and he's just got to try his best to hold it up there. Now on to the next driver, onto the field. Looks like they're going to exit pit road now, and that is Leandro Moreira. He's ran Winstel on and off throughout the last few years, and he is again signed up for 2007. Got the number 92 Toyota Camry out there with the JR Motorsports on the front. Doesn't look like he did too many custom paints on that, just threw something together in the iRacing paint booth and called it a day, which I think a few people have done so far.
First time competitor in the Winstel 400 weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Yet again, a driver who, you know, if I'm one of these guys, I'm gonna try and pay attention to, well, actually the shootout. I don't know if the shootout's gonna broadcast for the 400 and stuff, or at least before the heat races. But if I'm Leandro, I'm looking back at last year's race, at the year before, just to try and get an idea of how these heats end up going. I mean, what's going to be the most important part of it is how you survive the green flag pit stop. Typically, we at least see one. If we get an early wreck, you still have to pit later in the event or later in the heat. But when we look, obviously you and I aren't running it, but when we look at those heat races, it seems to be the play. If you short pit or you're the first ones to pit, you have a significant advantage of at least putting yourself in a position to advance late in that race.
That's true. My only counter to that is we've seen tires matter a little bit more in the shootout. I think the track's a little bit harder this year than previous years, just due to the date in game. So may not always be the strat to have that little bit extra grip at the end. 47.006 right in the middle of the pack again, 19th. So not too bad of a lap there, but definitely not enough to put him over the edge. But yeah, so the track is a little bit hotter this year, not by a lot, but just by 5-10 degrees. But it does make a bit of a difference on that tires, and we saw that in the shootout. So I believe Carmen was saying the shootout will be available on YouTube to watch on Thursday night, and then it will be live streamed for the pre-race on the Winstel 400 on the Sunday, since the last chance qualifier isn't on the same day as the 400 anymore this year. I don't know about you, Cruz, but I enjoy having the events go over the course of 2 weeks. It's fun, build up some hype. and each day just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot more enjoyable, not as stressful stacking everything on the Sunday and Saturday for 2 days, especially for everybody, admin team, and just everybody involved. Adrian Schumacher has a beautiful looking car.
Yeah, and again, another rookie for the Winstel 400. He's out here, gets some yellow rims, some yellow and black numbers, looks pretty good. That's definitely custom paint. So hopefully he's able to get that good-looking machine in the race. Unfortunately, as much as we say we hope we get into the race, that means you're knocking somebody else out. That's just the way it's going to go for the Winstel 400. And Carmen, I don't know if you can hear me right now, but if you can, how are you feeling about participating in your first Winstel 400?
Obviously a little bit of nerves, but I think that's natural when you look at everyone that's in this field. Just sort of excited. You know, I've not done a plate race of this size in 4 years. So it's been a hot minute. Practiced a little bit youth shootout last night to practice, sort of figure out things. Obviously, I ran the last chance qualifier last year, just sort of get my feet wet. As we watch as Schumacher goes across the finish line here, and he sets 30th fastest time, 47.056. I think it's just a general excitement being able to be a part of the event. Gonna be a lot of cars, biggest oval field I've ever been a part of. But that's part of the thrill of it. It's bringing in the new year the best way we can, and I'm just excited to go racing. I think I'm just excited to go racing. I want to be able to stop thinking about it and just do it.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be a learning curve probably for you. Those first 60, 70 laps, you're probably going to be out there just figuring out, what does this move do? What does this move not do? Like, you had the 30 laps from the shootout, of course, but also a lot of other people have 400 laps of practice at this point, just for example, right? So you don't have quite to have all the practice time, but hey, at least you got some out there, and hopefully you go out there and have a fun race, because that's what this event's all about.
Yeah, it's just gonna be fun racing with people that I've watched for years at this point. Even now, I've watched Winstel. I've been the voice of Winstel now for 3 years, going on 4. And so be able to race with the people that I've watched for years now is going to be a pretty special moment.
Yeah, it'll be fun to have you in the field. The 45-car field, the biggest Winstel 400 field we've ever had. Just changed the format a little bit this year, so that way the lock-in drivers aren't really taking up any spots from those that are racing their way in. So it should be fun. 45 cars, it's going to be wild, start to finish. Andrew Greisbaum out there right now. He's been around Winstel on and off for the last couple of years. He started in the 2003 Winston Cup season. He's ran with us the last few years part-time. So he's out there. He's competing in the Winstel 400, I believe, for his first time, though. I could be wrong on that. Ran a 47.023.
It is his first time. So we move on to the driver who won this event last year, Christian Budd. Now out of the car number that we normally see him in, they jumped from his 50 to the 07, but I wonder why.
Yeah, it wouldn't be because we had 2007 next year or anything. Now, I just want to say about Bud, if it wasn't for this guy, we would not have a league anymore. He's the one that brought me the idea, put the funds towards it to resurrecting it. Here we are today. And again, this league does not run for profit at all whatsoever. It relies off donations. Even with the entry fee, that's $10 for the 2007 season, which as long as you race the whole season, you're probably going to get more than that back. Not guaranteed, but very likely. A lot of it relies on donations to make Winstel run. Bud donates a lot of his own money to help make Winstel run. Cruz, I know you do the same, and then the rest of us do some of that as well, plus their own time dedication and all that. Bud is taking time to paint up every single 2007 Nextel Cup Series car, plus 10 Busch cars to get us to the 80 numbers, or the 80 entries that we're able to have for next year. That is a huge task. He painted up all the 2005 schemes, not once, but twice last year because the new Generation 4 car released. So he does a ton of work, and if it wasn't for him, this league would be nothing today.
If you go on Trading Paints and you look up a older Gen 4 car, very high likelihood that Christian Budd spent time to put that together.
Yep, so huge thank you to him, of course. He very much helps, and of course he's always in the decision booth, helping making decisions for moving the league forward and whatnot. He runs a 980 competitive lap. Well, there we go. It is official. Kevin McAdams and Nicholas Doucette are locked in. I'm going to try and get a hold of Kevin McAdams. He says he's away, so he's not available for an interview. Huge congratulations to them. I bet they're jumping for joy right now. That there's just no better feeling than knowing you don't have to deal with those heat races. They are chaotic. They are 3 wide. There's going to be crashes. It's going to be wild. Let me try and get a hold of Kevin here. We're going to pull Nick down once more. And then Kevin McAdams will follow. We're down here with Nicholas Doucette once again. Nick, you are the pole sitter for the Winstel 400. How does it feel?
Well, I'll tell you what, it feels pretty darn cool. As you all know, I've been around for quite some time, and never have I locked myself in off qualifying. I've come close, but just haven't been able to pull off the right lap. And I don't know, this year must have done something right, I guess.
How much of a pressure relief is it?
It was very relieving once Phil had told me that I had locked myself in, prior to Bud completing or beginning his lap. So the pressure was off there. Then it was more so just me praying that Bud didn't take me off the top of the charts, just so I could have the bragging rights for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's pretty exciting. I do have a question though. With this, do I still have to run the heats, or does that take me
You're
out
not
of the heat
allowed
racing?
anymore.
I'm not allowed anymore. Okay, that's what I thought.
Banned.
I'm probably for
You're
the
just
best.
banned right to the front row.
Okay, well that's a good spot to be then. I'll
right.
take that. Ran the shootout, so you know what, I got some practice in and looking forward to the race.
Big congratulations to Nick Doucette, the pole winner for the Brandon Cruz DFS pole winner for the Winstel 400. First time ever that he locks himself into the front row for the 400 after running it for many years. Next, we're bringing down Kevin McAdams. Hello, Kevin. Do you got us?
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Not too much. Congratulations to you. I'm sure you're happy to be locked into the race and don't have to deal with the chaos of the heats.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it so many times, I'm kind of used to it. And I briefly looked at the heat lineup and I realized I don't really have a lot of friends, but, I find a way. And I've been in this situation before, even being locked in, just kind of figuring out who I can work with, especially that's why I ran the shootout yesterday. I knew it was just me and Sean had 2 totally different agendas. I wanted to see if I could make it through the field in about 8 to 10 laps, just to see what the what lines would work well, with who I can work with, and obviously we had that photo finish, which was always fun to see, fun to have.
It was.
Yep. So obviously, it kind of takes a weight off my shoulders, but I will still attack the heats the same way. I want to be up front. I want.
Well, you're not in the heat anymore.
You gotta let me
You're
in
out.
there.
You're
all right. Well, what I'll probably do then, I know I've worked with Nate Stewart in the past, so I'll probably try to help him, maybe do some spot work, see if I can learn a thing or two. This package has been run a couple of years now, so I kind of know how it runs, but it's always good to kind of get a refresh, and it's kind of like the double-edged sword. If I can't run it, that sucks, but it's good to lock myself in. I didn't really prepare last year like I thought I should have, and I had to go through the heat, so it's good to not have to worry about getting in the 400 this year.
Well, I know you and Sean were doing some testing there the other night, so you certainly found a friend, and it was the gas pedal. It paid off. But again, it was fun racing with you there last night. We had a great battle to the end. Good competitive race. You certainly found your way through the field. And we were talking about that tonight. Some people say Daytona, Talladega don't take talent. But when you look at super speedway races, it is always the same people up at the front, and you're one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing, there's two different approaches. I think I take the, find help where you can and, return the favor. I think a lot of very aggressive super speedway drivers, I think we have a list of those that you can think of off the top of your head. They stay up front because of how aggressive they are. I'd like to think I'm the other way around. I will work with someone and stay in the top 6, top 8, and be there when it counts. And I think that's why, especially last year, I think it was like me and Corey Carpenter were top 3 for about 80% of the race until the fuel mileage situation kind of changed the name of the game. So
I remember.
Yep, I think the same attitude will once again, exist. I'll probably just have to keep an eye on strategy a little bit more this year, but I'm looking forward to witnessing and watching the heats and the second chance in the LCQ, learn a little bit, and then use that for the 400.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much for coming down, and I will see you next Sunday. Hopefully we can have another good battle and a repeat photo finish, except I want to be the car ahead this time. That's all right.
Yes, sir. All right, Brennan. All right, guys, have a good one.
All right, folks, I think we're coming down towards the end of the qualifying broadcast here. Thank you so much for tuning in. A big thank you to Carmen for broadcasting the whole 2 weekend of events once more. We're back for the heat races next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for the first one. So the broadcast probably be up a few minutes before that. And then we have the second heat race right after that at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then you have the second chance race right after that as well, where 36 drivers will advance their way into the Winstel 400 next Friday night. That is going to be the night to watch. It's going to be chaotic. Again, we're going to have a few accidents. We're going to have lots of lead changes. We're going to have lots of 3 wide. We're going to have some burnt tempers. People are going to be mad at each other. It might be like a little bit like Bristol, except for a Daytona, to be honest. But then, of course, Saturday night, for the first time ever, instead of running it the same day up the Winstel 400, we have the last chance qualifier on Saturday night. I believe, if I remember right, that is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And that is going to be another wild race where you're probably going to have 20 to 24 cars battling it out for the final 4 spots. And then Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time at the green flag at 7:45 p.m. It is the 14th annual Winstel 400. And you can see it up on the screen there. Only 6 entry spots remain for the Winstel 400. So get your name in there if you want to race. It's going to be an excellent event. Thank you to everybody that helps me put this on, because without you guys, this would not happen. Cruz, do you have any final words?
Let's go. I've been waiting for this all year. I just hope everybody has a blast. Thank you for everybody being a part of this, showing up, and let's just put on a good show for the fans.
Thank you so much for tuning into ABN. We'll see you next weekend for a full weekend of action. Good night, everybody.